My dear friends, in a world that keeps running faster than our hearts can beat, there is one question that quietly echoes in the mind of every student, every professional, every parent, every human being. How do I handle mental pressure? Today, as we reflect together, I want you to remember one simple truth. Diamonds are formed under pressure, but only when handled the right way. Awareness is the foundation upon which every solution, every transformation, and every inner strength is built. When a person becomes aware of what they are feeling, thinking, and experiencing, they step into a position of power. One of the major reasons mental pressure becomes overwhelming is that most people do not pause to truly understand what is happening within them. They feel anxious, stressed, or restless, but they cannot identify the exact source of that discomfort. This lack of clarity amplifies the pressure. The mind begins to create exaggerated stories, assumptions, and fears, making the burden much heavier than it truly is. Awareness breaks this cycle. It is the moment you sit with yourself and say, "Let me understand what I am actually going through." Awareness does not mean overthinking. It means observing with objectivity. It is like switching on a light in a dark room. The moment the light comes on, the unknown becomes known, the confusing becomes clear, and the overwhelming becomes manageable. When you take time to identify the root cause of your mental pressure, whether it's work expectations, academic responsibilities, family challenges, emotional conflicts, or fear of failure, you stop fighting shadows. You begin responding to reality instead of reacting to imagined fears. This simple shift can drastically reduce the emotional load on your mind. A person who practices awareness becomes more emotionally intelligent. They learn to separate themselves from their thoughts. Instead of saying, "I am stressed," an aware person says, "I am experiencing stress right now." That small difference creates space between you and the emotion, and in that space lies control. You are no longer drowning in the feeling, you are watching it, understanding it, and preparing to address it. Just like a doctor cannot give the right medicine without knowing the diagnosis, the mind cannot find the right solution without awareness of the real issue. Awareness also enhances decision making. When mental pressure strikes, many people act impulsively, making quick decisions, reacting emotionally, or avoiding responsibilities. But when you cultivate awareness, you slow down. You analyze whether the pressure is coming from real expectations or self-created fears. You recognize whether a situation requires action, patience, communication, or simply a shift in mindset. This clarity allows you to make wise choices even in stressful conditions, reducing future problems and preventing unnecessary emotional turmoil. Another significant strength of awareness is the ability to notice early signs of burnout or emotional imbalance. Most breakdowns don't happen suddenly. They build slowly. The body whispers before it screams. The mind signals before it collapses. A person who is aware notices these early whispers: sleeplessness, irritability, loss of focus, lack of motivation, or emotional heaviness. Instead of ignoring these signs, they address them early, preventing the pressure from escalating into something more damaging. Awareness acts as an internal alarm system that protects your mental health long before the situation becomes uncontrollable. Awareness also encourages responsibility. When you become conscious of your emotions, your habits, your thoughts, and your triggers, you stop blaming your environment and start working on yourself. You begin taking ownership of your reactions. You learn to say, "I cannot control everything around me, but I can control the way I respond." This shift is profoundly empowering. It gives you confidence that no matter how intense the external pressure is, you have the inner capacity to manage it. Finally, awareness strengthens your relationship with yourself. In a fast-paced world, many people know everything about their careers, friends, or social media trends, but very little about their own inner world. When you spend a few moments each day checking in with your thoughts and emotions, you develop a deeper understanding of who you are. This connection becomes a source of strength during challenging times. You no longer feel lost within your own mind because you have learned to navigate it with clarity, compassion, and intelligence. In essence, awareness is not just a practice, but a powerful life skill. It turns confusion into clarity, fear into understanding, and pressure into manageable steps. When you become aware, you gain mastery over your mind, and once the mind is mastered, no external pressure can overpower you. Detachment, in the context of handling mental pressure, is not about withdrawing from life or becoming emotionless. It is about developing the ability to step back mentally, gain perspective, and see situations with a clearer, calmer mind. When pressure builds up, the mind naturally zooms in on problems to such an extent that they begin to feel larger than they actually are. This narrow focus intensifies stress, fuels overthinking, and blinds us to possible solutions. Detachment invites us to gently create mental space, allowing us to see challenges not as threats, but as situations that can be understood, managed, and resolved. Imagine holding a book so close to your eyes that you cannot read a single word. The letters blur, the meaning disappears, and frustration rises. But the moment you move the book just a little farther away, clarity returns. Life works in exactly the same way. When you are too close to a problem, emotionally, mentally, or psychologically, you lose clarity. You lose objectivity. Every small issue feels urgent, personal, and overwhelming. Detachment helps you shift that book away from your eyes. It gives you the breathing room you need to comprehend what is happening without being consumed by it. Detachment is essentially the art of observing without absorbing. When challenges arise, the emotionally entangled mind reacts instantly, sometimes aggressively, sometimes fearfully, sometimes with panic. But when you detach, even temporarily, you allow your rational mind to take the lead. You stop letting emotions dictate your decisions. You look at the situation as though you were advising a friend. This approach removes unnecessary intensity and helps you respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. It turns emotional chaos into mental clarity. One of the greatest benefits of detachment is that it weakens the power of exaggerated thoughts. Pressure often magnifies problems. A small mistake begins to feel like a disaster. A minor disagreement appears like a broken relationship. The fear of the unknown looks like certain failure. When you detach, you zoom out and see that the issue is only one part of your entire life, not the whole story. It becomes easier to recognize that a moment of discomfort does not define your future, and a temporary setback does not determine your worth. This mindset prevents unnecessary emotional suffering and restores a balanced view of reality. Detachment also helps you let go of things you cannot control. Much of our mental pressure comes from trying to manage outcomes that are beyond our reach. Other people's opinions, unpredictable circumstances, or external events. When you become overly attached to controlling everything, the mind becomes restless and tense. Detachment gently reminds you to focus your energy on what is in your control and release what is not. This practice liberates mental space and reduces the weight of unrealistic expectations. Another important aspect of detachment is emotional resilience. When you train yourself to step back and analyze situations from a distance, you develop a stronger tolerance for uncertainty, discomfort, and change. Life will not always go as planned. People will not always behave the way you hope. But a detached mind remains flexible. It adapts quickly, recovers faster, and sees possibilities even in difficult circumstances. Instead of breaking under pressure, it bends gracefully and returns to its natural state of calmness. Detachment also allows you to evaluate your own thoughts with honesty. Sometimes the pressure we feel is not caused by external situations, but by our own mental patterns. Perfectionism, fear of judgment, unnecessary comparison, or overcommitment. When you detach, you gain the insight needed to identify these patterns. You see your thoughts as passing events rather than unshakable truths. This awareness gives you the power to reshape your thinking, challenge limiting beliefs, and choose healthier responses. Lastly, detachment brings emotional freedom. It does not reduce your ability to care or feel. It simply prevents you from drowning in your emotions. It teaches you how to love without losing yourself, how to work without burning out, and how to dream without fearing failure. By allowing you to zoom out, detachment creates a mental environment where clarity thrives, confidence grows, and pressure slowly loosens its grip. Balance is one of the most essential yet underestimated elements of a healthy and productive life. Many people mistake constant activity for progress and continuous effort for strength. In reality, imbalance, whether physical, emotional, or mental, creates pressure that slowly drains motivation and clarity. A balanced approach to life allows the mind to function at its highest capacity, enabling decisions that are steady, thoughtful, and effective. When you learn to balance your responsibilities with rest, ambition with peace, and effort with recovery, mental pressure naturally becomes easier to manage. In today's fast-paced world, the idea of balance often feels like a luxury. People push themselves to meet deadlines, fulfill responsibilities, satisfy expectations, and chase goals without pausing to understand the limits of the human mind and body. Just as an overworked machine begins to malfunction, an overburdened mind becomes less efficient. You may continue working, but your productivity decreases. You may appear strong, but internally you feel drained. Balance is not a sign of weakness. It is a strategic approach to sustaining long-term performance. A person who understands balance does not wait until exhaustion hits before resting. They proactively create space for recovery to maintain clarity and strength. Balance requires intentional awareness of how you distribute your energy. Many individuals invest all their attention into one area, career, studies, relationships, or personal goals, while neglecting the others. This uneven distribution creates emotional tension and mental strain. When one part of life becomes overloaded, it begins to affect everything else. A student absorbed only in academics may lose emotional stability. A professional working non-stop may struggle with health or relationships. Balance encourages you to acknowledge all parts of life: work, rest, relationships, personal time, and inner growth, because each plays a vital role in maintaining psychological well-being. One of the key aspects of balance is recognizing the importance of rest. Rest is not a reward, it is a necessity. A rested mind thinks better, reacts calmly, and solves problems more creatively. Without proper rest, the mind becomes clouded, and even simple tasks feel heavy. Rest does not only mean sleep, although sleep is deeply important. Rest also includes quiet reflection, leisurely activities, mindful breathing, and taking small breaks throughout the day. These moments act like mental reset buttons, restoring clarity and reducing stress before it has the chance to accumulate. Balance also involves understanding your limits. Many people take pride in pushing themselves constantly, believing that stopping means falling behind. But the truth is that knowing when to pause is a greater sign of wisdom than pushing until burnout. It takes awareness and maturity to recognize that you can only give your best when your mind is stable, your emotions are centered, and your body is energized. Instead of measuring success by how much you endure, learn to measure it by how well you sustain your strength. Another crucial component of balance is managing expectations, both your own and those placed on you by others. Mental pressure often comes from trying to meet unrealistic standards or from attempting to please everyone. Balance teaches you to prioritize what truly matters and let go of what drains you unnecessarily. It redirects your focus from external validation to internal clarity. When you balance ambition with self-compassion, you allow yourself to grow without the burden of constant pressure. Balanced living also enhances emotional resilience. When your life is not overloaded in one area, you have the mental space to respond intelligently to challenges. You think more clearly, communicate more effectively, and recover more quickly from setbacks. Your mind becomes less reactive and more adaptive. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you feel stable, even during demanding situations. Finally, balance nurtures a healthier relationship with yourself. When you make time for rest, reflection, and personal joy, you acknowledge your own needs and value. This self-respect strengthens your emotional foundation. You begin to understand that achieving great things in life does not require sacrificing your well-being. It requires working smart, resting purposefully, and living with harmony. When balance becomes a part of your lifestyle, mental pressure loses much of its power because you no longer operate from a place of depletion. You operate from a place of strength. Positive association plays an extraordinary role in shaping the way we think, feel, and respond to the world around us. Human beings often underestimate the influence of their environment, especially the people they interact with daily. Yet the mind absorbs energies, attitudes, and emotions from others just as naturally as the body absorbs nutrients from food. When the company is supportive, uplifting, and encouraging, the mind feels lighter and more confident. When the company is negative, critical, or draining, even small challenges begin to feel overwhelming. This is why choosing the right associations is not just a social decision, it is a crucial part of maintaining mental clarity, emotional stability, and overall well-being. Every conversation you engage in, every relationship you maintain, and every personality you allow into your space leaves an imprint on your thoughts. People who constantly complain, criticize, or discourage others unknowingly spread their mental pressure. Spending time with such individuals begins to affect your mindset, often without you realizing it. You may start doubting yourself more, feeling anxious about small issues, or viewing life through a pessimistic lens. On the other hand, individuals with a positive mindset, those who believe in growth, patience, kindness, and resilience, naturally transfer their strength to you. Their presence alone can motivate you to stay calm under pressure and navigate challenges with greater confidence. Positive association does not mean surrounding yourself only with those who praise you. True positive company includes those who guide you honestly, correct you with kindness, and support you with sincerity. These are the people who help you see solutions instead of problems, opportunities instead of limitations, and lessons instead of failures. Their words carry encouragement, and their actions reflect integrity. Being in their presence makes you feel safe, understood, and inspired. They do not remove your problems, but they remind you that you have the ability to overcome them. One powerful effect of positive association is its ability to regulate emotional responses. When stress increases, the mind tends to exaggerate fears or magnify difficulties. During such times, a grounded and optimistic person can help you regain perspective. Their calmness influences your energy, and their logical thinking helps you shift from emotional reaction to thoughtful response. This emotional balance is essential for handling pressure effectively. The right company becomes a stabilizing force, helping you navigate challenges without losing mental harmony. Surrounding yourself with positive people also encourages personal growth. When you spend time with individuals who value discipline, kindness, patience, and self-improvement, you naturally begin to adopt these traits. Their habits influence your habits. Their goals inspire your goals. Their resilience strengthens your resilience. Growth becomes easier because you are constantly learning through example. Mental pressure becomes lighter because you are supported by individuals who encourage progress rather than perfection. Positive association also provides emotional safety. Everyone experiences fear, confusion, or vulnerability at times. Sharing these emotions with the wrong people can lead to judgment or misunderstanding, which increases pressure. Sharing them with the right people leads to understanding, compassion, and support. This emotional safety helps you process your challenges in a healthier way. You feel less alone and more connected, which is a powerful shield against stress. Another important aspect is the influence positive association has on self-belief. Confidence does not grow in isolation. It grows in supportive environments. When you are surrounded by people who believe in your potential, who appreciate your efforts, and who remind you of your strengths, your self-confidence deepens. This inner strength directly reduces mental pressure because you no longer feel helpless or incapable. Instead, you feel empowered to face adversity with determination. The quality of people you surround yourself with also shapes your thinking patterns. Minds that think positively, constructively, and creatively can help you develop healthier perspectives. They introduce new ideas, challenge limiting beliefs, and broaden your understanding. This intellectual and emotional stimulation makes your mind more adaptable and resilient. A resilient mind does not crumble under pressure. It learns, evolves, and grows stronger. In essence, positive association is an investment in your mental health and emotional stability. It creates a supportive environment where pressure feels manageable, goals feel achievable, and challenges transform into opportunities for growth. Surrounding yourself with the right people is not just a preference. It is a powerful strategy for building a stronger, calmer, and more balanced mind. Focusing on what you can control is one of the most effective strategies for reducing mental pressure and cultivating emotional stability. A significant portion of stress comes from directing energy towards circumstances that lie completely outside personal influence. Other people's opinions, unpredictable outcomes, or events that cannot be changed no matter how much worry is invested. When the mind becomes entangled in these uncontrollable factors, it generates frustration, helplessness, and unnecessary anxiety. By shifting your attention to the aspects of life you can genuinely influence, you reclaim your mental strength, regain clarity, and create a more stable experience of reality. The human mind naturally gravitates toward uncertainty, and uncertainty often triggers fear. When you are unsure how something will unfold, the imagination creates scenarios, usually negative, that heighten emotional pressure. Instead of accepting that some things simply lie beyond control, many people try to manage every possible outcome, every response, and every detail. This tendency is understandable but ineffective. The truth is that life is full of variables that no amount of worrying can change. Recognizing this truth is not an admission of defeat. It is a sophisticated understanding of how to preserve your psychological energy. By focusing only on the controllable, you prevent your mind from exhausting itself on futile struggles. Learning to distinguish between what you can control and what you cannot is a skill that grows with self-awareness. You have control over your effort, your attitude, your preparation, your choices, your reactions, and the direction you decide to take. You do not have control over how others behave, how situations unfold, or how outcomes ultimately manifest. When you invest energy in improving your own actions, rather than worrying about external uncertainties, you create a sense of empowerment. This empowerment lowers anxiety and allows you to handle challenges with greater maturity and confidence. Focusing on the controllable also enhances productivity. Many people experience mental pressure not because the challenge is too big, but because they are stuck thinking about the parts of the challenge that they cannot influence. This leads to paralysis, overthinking, and emotional fatigue. When you redirect your attention to what is within your capacity, the next step, the next decision, the next improvement, you break the problem into manageable pieces. Your mind becomes task-oriented instead of anxiety-oriented. This shift reduces stress and improves efficiency, making progress feel achievable rather than overwhelming. Another significant benefit of focusing on what you can control is the development of emotional resilience. When you accept that certain things are beyond your influence, you stop taking situations personally. You begin to understand that external events do not define your worth or competence. This mindset allows you to remain calm even when things don't go according to plan. Instead of reacting with frustration or disappointment, you respond with adaptability. You learn from setbacks without letting them damage your self-esteem, because your sense of stability comes from your actions, not uncontrollable outcomes. This approach also helps you manage relationships more intelligently. Many interpersonal conflicts arise from the expectation that others should behave or respond in a certain way. When they don't, the resulting disappointment or anger creates emotional pressure. By focusing on your own behavior, how kindly you speak, how responsibly you act, how thoughtfully you communicate, you maintain inner peace regardless of how others choose to act. You become more grounded, less reactive, and more capable of maintaining healthy boundaries. This emotional clarity significantly reduces mental stress in personal and professional relationships. A focus on the controllable also strengthens discipline. When your attention is directed toward your own habits and choices, you naturally become more consistent in your efforts. You begin prioritizing what is meaningful rather than what is distracting. Instead of wasting mental energy worrying about results, you invest that energy into actions that move you closer to your goals. This mindset builds patience and determination, allowing you to progress steadily even during uncertainty. Ultimately, focusing on what you can control transforms your relationship with pressure. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the vastness of everything that could go wrong, you feel grounded in the simplicity of what you can do right now. Each small action becomes a step toward clarity. Each responsible choice becomes a shield against anxiety. When your mind learns to stay anchored in the controllable, the external world loses its ability to disrupt your inner stability. Trusting the process of life is an attitude of strength, patience, and deep emotional maturity. In moments of pressure, the mind often demands immediate answers, instant clarity, and quick results. However, life rarely unfolds according to our timelines or expectations. Growth takes time. Healing takes time. Achievements take time. When you embrace the idea that every challenge is shaping you, preparing you, and strengthening you for something greater, the weight of mental pressure becomes lighter. Trust is not about ignoring difficulties. It is about understanding that difficulties carry purpose, even when that purpose is not immediately visible. One of the greatest sources of stress is the belief that everything should be perfect now. Your career should be settled, your relationships should be stable, your goals should be achieved, and your path should be clear. But life's journey is not a straight line. It is a series of phases, some smooth, some chaotic, some inspiring, and some deeply challenging. Trusting the process means accepting these phases with grace, knowing that each one is shaping a part of who you are meant to become. This acceptance removes unnecessary resistance and allows the mind to relax into the flow of life rather than constantly fighting it. Trust also requires patience, a quality that is increasingly rare in a world driven by speed and instant gratification. When results don't come quickly, the mind begins to panic, doubt, and criticize itself. But patience is not passive waiting. It is active endurance. It means continuing to show up, continuing to improve, continuing to believe in your direction, even when progress feels slow. Patience builds emotional resilience. It teaches you to value long-term results over short-lived comfort and to stay committed even when the path is uncertain. A major component of trusting the process is acknowledging that setbacks are not signs of failure. They are part of the journey. Many people interpret obstacles as proof that things are not working. In reality, setbacks are often the very experiences that prepare you for future success. They build depth, courage, and perspective. They reveal weaknesses that need improvement and strengths you didn't know you had. When you understand that setbacks have purpose, the pressure they create loses its ability to overwhelm you. Trusting the process also means believing in your own ability to navigate challenges. When pressure rises, self-doubt often follows. Thoughts like, what if I can't do this? Or what if I fail? Begin to echo in the mind, making situations heavier than they truly are. But trust shifts these thoughts into a broader, more empowering perspective. It reminds you that you have overcome difficulties before and that you are capable of overcoming new ones. It helps you approach challenges with confidence rather than fear. Another important aspect of trust is surrendering what is beyond your control. Life has its own rhythm, and no amount of worry can accelerate it. When you cling tightly to outcomes, you create unnecessary emotional strain. But when you trust that things will unfold as they should, provided you give your sincere effort, you free your mind from tension. This surrender is not weakness. It is a sign of emotional intelligence. It shows that you understand the difference between responsible action and helpless worry. Trusting the process also nurtures a deeper connection with your values. When you focus on effort rather than perfection, you align your actions with who you are rather than who you think you must be. This alignment creates internal harmony, which reduces mental pressure. You begin to work from a place of authenticity instead of fear. This authenticity makes challenges easier to handle because you are no longer fighting against yourself. You are flowing with your inner truth. Over time, trust transforms your outlook on challenges. Instead of seeing pressure as something that breaks you, you start seeing it as something that shapes you. Instead of viewing uncertainty as threatening, you begin to view it as part of the journey. Instead of expecting immediate results, you learn to appreciate gradual progress. This mental shift brings emotional freedom. It allows you to breathe more easily, think more clearly, and move forward with greater stability. Ultimately, trusting the process does not eliminate pressure, but it changes your relationship with it. It teaches you to remain grounded even when the future seems unsure. It strengthens your patience, deepens your resilience, and allows you to grow with dignity rather than fear. When you trust that life is unfolding exactly as it should, you give yourself the peace and confidence needed to navigate any challenge with strength and clarity. My friends, mental pressure is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you are growing, evolving, stepping into the next version of yourself. The world may push you down, situations may overwhelm you, but your inner strength can rise higher than any storm outside. So breathe, smile, take one step at a time and remind yourself, I am bigger than my pressure. Thank you.